Good morning, everybody. My name is Travis Dillard. I'm the CEO and President of Inflow Communications, and with me is Mike Doloff, our Chief Revenue Officer. Good morning,
Hello.
Mike.
Hey.
And for those of you that don't know, Inflow Communications is a specialized, solely focused provider of unified communications and contact center products and services. We're national, and we were a ShoreTel partner and now a Mitel partner via the acquisition. We are a platinum partner, and we have probably over 700 heritage ShoreTel Mitel customers across the country, in every state and every vertical. And today we're going to be talking about the ShoreTel Mitel Connect, and we'll just jump right into it. So, Mike, a lot of companies haven't made the jump to Connect. A lot of them are still on 14.2. As you're out talking to customers and prospects, and I'm starting to see a lot more of our customers migrate to Connect. What's the impetus of that? What's the reason for that?
Yeah, it's funny. Connect's been out for several years, but it's been kind of a slow build up to this point. And so, what's driven, I think, the real recent interest and engagement is that finally, I think that message has gotten out that hey, this is Connect is the new platform. 14.2 is end of life as of December 2019. And so that message has finally gotten out there and is resonating with people of, oh, we have to do something. If this is our mission critical communications platform, we don't want to be stuck on something where we're on a system that is end of life and if we run into a big issue, we're not immediately being able to resolve that. So I think that's really the big drive. The other thing is, I think a lot of the messaging around Connect and going to it was lost, and there wasn't a lot of emphasis on it from the Mitel ShoreTel transition time. We were out there sort of talking, sharing about it, but I think we were one of very few, and from the manufacturer side, they weren't doing a lot because there were a lot of other transitional items they're dealing with. So right now I think a lot of it's kind of a getting to the point where it's like a defensive posture on this. Got to upgrade, because if not, you're going to be in a bad spot. And nobody's in a terrible spot right now, but you got to be planning for it for the next 9 to 12 months here. You got to have a game plan to get there, and it's not a snap of fingers and you're there kind of thing. So, and I think I'll turn it back to you, Travis. You've had a lot of conversations with customers too. What are you seeing as the reasons that customers are making this jump to Connect now? What are some of the benefits and things that they're excited about partaking on when they make that jump?
Well, yeah, I mean, in addition to the reasons you stated of just time is getting short and people need to start making that move, there are definitely some enhancements with the Connect platform. You can virtualize your switches, and you can use Hyper-V, for example. The pre-Connect soft phone has always been a bit clunky, and ShoreTel and Mitel would admit that. And so they built the soft phone from the ground up with all new codecs. It works really well. The mobility story with Connect is much better. You can get rid of the old OEM VPN concentrator and implement the remote edge gateway. And with that, you can use 400 series phones for your home or remote offices that connect back securely via the internet without an on-site clunky VPN appliance, back using the edge gateway. And the client looks better. Just the desktop client is a bit more this decade, and their mobility story is a lot better. I think one of the things that ShoreTel, Mitel now knew that they needed to enhance the mobile first story. So also just architecturally, there's some benefits that some of our customers are taking advantage of with their hybrid story. So perhaps you've got a pretty robust implementation and investment in maybe your headquarters and your larger offices, but your satellite offices you want to start migrating into cloud. And there's there's a hybrid story. There's some features, albeit a bit limited, but definitely it works to deploy remote offices in the cloud and get things like shared directory and extension dialing, etc. There's also some enhancements with the management tool in Director that our customers like. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And now to kick it back to you, as you're working with our customer success team and as you're talking to customers and prospects, sometimes we talk to customers that have already made the move to Connect. We're talking to customers and helping educate them prior to going to Connect. What are some of the most important elements for a successful Connect migration in your eyes?
I think a lot of it, everyone, if you've been on a short-haul Mitel system for a while, upgrades in the past were just sort of an IT function, right? You schedule the maintenance window, you do the update, and you're done. You have to look at Connect differently. You have to look at it as really more of a process where there's a lot more change, and treat it with sort of more of a change management approach. So treat it like a project, right? Don't treat it like a help desk ticket. Don't treat it like just a ITs are going to do this one night. Some people do that, and it can work in certain cases. But in a lot of cases, if you have a high adoption of using the communicator client, on 14.2, the client changes, and you can't say, well, we'll change it later. You have to change the client when you upgrade to Connect. You have to do it all at once, and that now you're dealing with users and you're dealing with changes to their day to day. And people are really sensitive to changes on anything phone related. We found that this is what we do for a living, and we definitely see that all the time, almost irrationally affected by changes, but that's the case. And so you have to acknowledge and live within that. So have a plan for user training, run this as a project, do all the prep work the right way, get the servers built up, do your backup restore, do this in a way where you've got a nice clean path if you needed to roll back. That happens on occasion for reasons, many reasons. But do this in a way that you just put time and attention into it.
Mike, you mentioned prep. I know we do Connect readiness assessments, and we've invested a lot of time and money in becoming really good at Connect migrations. It's a finicky process, right? You got to cross your T and dot your I's, and you have to really. We've been through a lot of them, and been through a lot of different scenarios: multi-site, single-site, contact center, et cetera. And so, can you elaborate quickly on the assessment and the readiness assessment that we do and why that's important, regardless if you're doing it with us or not?
Yeah, definitely. So, and this has been a long process of getting customers ready for Connect, and Inflow getting us ready too. And frankly, Short-Haul Mitel have had a lot of work to get ready. A lot of builds that were not ready for release to public in our eyes. So there's been some bumpiness along the road that we're finally coming out of. But yeah, we do a lot of education around Connect for anybody who wants to listen to kind of walk through what are the OS compatibility versions you need to look at there. What's the path to, you want to get to server 2016 as a part of this? What's the way you do that? What are your compatible VMware versions with the different builds of 14.2 and Connect? What's the right steps to make sure that you've got the order of operations done right? And Mitel has really, really drilled this into the partner community of, you need to do this in the right order and the right steps. And we do that to a T, because if you don't, you will run into issues. We've seen that. So there's a very, very specific order of operations you need to do. Almost, can I say, I can almost say exclusively for anybody that hasn't done that, it has not gone as well as they'd hoped. So.
And there's also considerations around how you do it, right? I know we have some of our smaller customers that might actually do an upgrade, and we have other customers, some of our larger customers, that will spin up a Connect environment and actually do perhaps an integration between the 14.2 and the Connect implementation and do a migration over to the Connect platform.
Yeah, there's various flavors of what might work. Throw into the mix too, right? That this is a change that a lot of people weren't aware of. Again, it was kind of lost in the messaging through the acquisition from Mitel was, hey, your switches that are the full width kind of second generation switches, right? Your SG40s, 60s, 120s, and T1s won't work on Connect. So you have some customers too making this transition that have maybe one, maybe 50 switches that need to be replaced too. And how do you juggle that in this transition? Because you have to replace that hardware. So anyway, there's some interesting variables in this. So yeah, a lot of prep, a lot of conversation around this to get it right. We do a lot of kind of more general education. At the end of the day, like to jump into everyone's environment specifically and talk with them, and that's kind of what our customer success team is doing a lot of. Because yeah, we've brought on customers who did an upgrade with someone else, and then it did not go well, and they're kind of limping along or in a lot of pain, and really sort of in a lot of cases soured their impression of the platform. Went from being a great, stable, everyone loved it platform to, gosh, this has been a disaster. So we try to turn that around and get them happy, but nobody likes going through that pain. A lot of anguish.
Yeah, and I know one of the things we looked at as we went through the process, we were to your point about treating this like a project. It is not just an upgrade that you do, and we actually formulated very specific, comprehensive Connect migration or Connect upgrade packages that adds elements like on-site training, coverage services, and obviously all the prep stuff. So it's really critical that you do it right.
Totally, totally. We talk about it as, hey, if this is the plan for you for the foreseeable future, treat this as a reinvestment in the system, because you've probably been on it for some period of time, and this is a big change. And so look at this as kind of a reinvestment into your people, into the architecture, into how you're looking at it, into the project of getting there. Because if you're gonna go forward, reinvest in it and go fully into that. Which kind of brings me, Travis, to the last point of this. We have a lot of customers ask this question is, because Mitel has made it no secret. We've talked about this before, right? Mitel's made it no secret they'd love to have their customers move into the cloud with them, right? So is this a good time for a customer that's looking at a Connect upgrade? Is this a good time for them to evaluate cloud?
Well, absolutely, especially if and cloud is in your future, if you know it's going to be in your future even in the next 5 years. As you mentioned before, this is it is a new system essentially, and there is an investment in financial resources, but just time, and we can plan it out as best as possible. We can dot our I's, cross our T's, but it is going to be disruptive to your customers, your users. And so then there's a lot of benefits to cloud. Obviously, it's an OpEx model. There's a lot of innovation going into the cloud. The bulk of innovation is going into cloud as far as how in developing APIs. It can integrate with other applications. It can free up IT's resources to be more strategic, as opposed to managing hardware and software and patch cords and blinking lights. Now you can be more strategic and manage other elements of your business. So, if cloud is absolutely not in your future, which you're few and far between, and it is in your future, then this is a very prudent, logical time to evaluate cloud for sure.